All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Was that fun? You feel refreshed? Thank you for the clock, but I have something actually now. All right, so we know that technology is good, right? But it can lead to the dark side. So here's Darth Vader giving a bullet point presentation. Here he's trying to convince Luke to come over to the other side. So rather than fighting it out, he could kill them with bullet points. Right? Repetition, and finally it is your destiny, and then see my website for more information. So that's, but this is not a naked approach. He's in the dark, he's up high, it's very sort of didactic, and it's not good. So compared to that, Yoda would do the more naked style, right? So I mean, he's 870 something years old, but still front and center, right? Nice to meet you with this, right? He's making a connection. Visuals, an empty slate of possibilities. You might use, but actually when I teach university, I don't use slides, but I use the whiteboard. I hate the chalkboard with a passion. It's just vile stuff. But the whiteboard is great, and you have different colors, and it doesn't make my eyes water. So this is kind of the difference, contrast. So are you more like Darth, or are you more like Yoda? So how many of you use PowerPoint or Keynote in your work? So not everyone, some of you. You know your work, your play? Okay. So there was life before PowerPoint a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. You might remember this. So this was a great presentation, vector animation. This was very advanced for the time. But notice the presenter is right close to the screen, front and center, engaged with the pilots and the navigators and the droids. And it was a great presentation. But if we did this presentation today, it would look something like this, right? In the PowerPoint culture. And this is not effective at all. And of course, nothing closes like, you know, some thank you slide or something like that, right? So of course this is ridiculous, but this is very common. So we all know that's why you're here. We know communication matters and we know presentation matters, but the problem is something called death by PowerPoint, right? Have you ever experienced death by PowerPoint? Some of you? Hopefully not today. So in Japanese it looks like this, a little different. There it is. So in Japanese we call it PowerPoint, what is that? Ni yoru shinu. So there's many different visuals can accompany this, but we've all been there saying help. You know. Yeah. I had a good video to show you, but for copyright reasons I have to cut that out. So this is the book I want to recommend. This is the Japanese version. You can see that it's called Brain Rules. This is the English version. It comes with a DVD. But if you go to brainrules.net, brainrules.net, you can Google that right now, and all that information is there for free, basically. And it's not a book about presentations, the book about the brain, but he does mention presentations, and he says we should basically throw them away. And the reason is they look like this, which leads to this, as we said before, right? There's that picture I took of actual. This is very, 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 very typical, very normal, and we don't want to do that. So when did this start? When did this sort of really bad, ineffective presentation thing start? And you could say, well, maybe it was school, but elementary schools that I've been to, I used to be on a JET program back in the late 40s. And then, of course, I remember elementary school, and I have a daughter, and I'm thinking where to put her. Probably she'll go to international school, of course, eventually, but I think, you know, elementary school in Japan, this is not Japan, but it could be anywhere. They're very, very genki, and the teachers are very connected to the students are mecha genki, right? I mean, you could call, you know, who knows the answer? Every hand goes up. Kenji, what's the answer? Wakaranai! Why is your hand up, right? Genki desu, right? And then I won't mention the company. I just 2 days ago in Tokyo, a very famous company. Imagine Goldman Sachs, but not that one. Good Lord. That was the worst audience I've ever had in my life. They were not going to be engaged. And individually, they were very, very nice. But just, it's the culture of just, I'm going to be passive. And that's really, really hard to have education, that kind of thing. So I don't think it's elementary school, but then junior high, if you kind of remember, and certainly high school for a lot of people, especially in Japan. And then we go to college, where it's all designed, of course, to make you the best you can be, as you can see. Right? And there's a little guy down there, someplace really, really far away. He's saying something. I can't really see. And then, of course, we go to conferences. Not this conference, of course. This conference will be amazing. But a lot of conferences for us are quite, you know, the snooze fest. So the question then is, what is presentation? Or we should say, what is good presentation? So I want to give you a chance to give me your feedback, or to give us, all of us, your feedback. So think about think about the best presentation you've ever seen, the good side. Why was it good? You can actually mention a person's name if you want. If he's famous, or she's famous, that'll help. And then bad. You don't say my boss, because we don't know your boss, so it doesn't help. But what makes a bad presentation ineffective in today's world, and then on the other hand, what makes it good? What are your examples? All right, does that make sense? Okay, ready? I'll give you 2 minutes. So somebody, one of you in your group, make this T-chart and just kind of think about, make a list of good, bad. You'll need a piece of paper later, by the way, so you might as well get out the paper or your iPad. How many of you have your iPad with you? I just did a conference in Sapporo. It's event, 400 tech CEOs. Everyone had an iPad. And they're just sketching or doing, without exception, I think every single person had an iPad. It's a very useful tool. And you don't need paper. Just sketch. Okay, you'll need to sketch something. Okay, 2 minutes for this. Come up with as many as you can. So what do you got? What are some, we don't have much time, so shout out some examples. Let's start with, I guess we'll start with the bad. Ineffective, that's more fun. Just shout out what's sort of common, do you think, in the world of education?
Reading from the screen.
Reading from the screen? You still see that? Is that common?
Yeah.
Right? And are students actually taught that way? So, I mean, you don't teach them that way, right? But,
no.
And they read. So what's the point? Okay, reading from the slides, right? What else?
People who are running behind and they try to pack in the 100 slides in the last 5 minutes.
Okay, so too much information, right? Too fast. Yes, sir.
Text heavy is not what I want to say.
Text heavy?
They actually start the presentation correctly. They don't start the slideshow, as it were. They just read from the presenter notes. The presenter notes are on the screen.
Well, I haven't seen that one. That's a good one. Yeah. Imagine how silly that would be.
Lack of clarity.
Lack of clarity, right? Okay. What else?
Really nervous.
Really nervous. Okay. Sure. And
Don't know the audience.
Okay, so they don't know the audience. Lack of confidence, and confidence is infectious. We love confidence. Whether it's a man or a woman, we're attracted to someone who's confident. Not arrogant, but we love confidence. And when someone's not confident, we feel that, right? The research into mirror neurons, this is a whole other thing. But, if you're happy, then we're more likely to feel happy. But if someone's nervous, then we feel that nervousness. Could you imagine being elected president? If Obama was, I'm so nervous, everyone. Which is why you should never say that, but novice presenters always think that's going to help. And actually in brain research, there's evidence that does help you. It helps you. It does help you feel better to say, I feel nervous. That does not help you in terms of being effective, though, and it does not help the audience. Can you imagine? Barack Obama, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so nervous. This is my first time. Whew, how about that economy, huh? Where are my notes? Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. Joseph, didn't you have your hand up or something?
Yes, I did. We had a speaker at one of our previous events who talked for 45 to 50 minutes about his own achievements and had a PowerPoint to back his achievements up, his press clippings, everything.
Okay, excellent. I'll try that technique. That's a good one. Thanks, Joseph. Okay, how about the good ones, though? There are a lot of good ones, especially if they're in Japan. I'd love to hear. But in general, what makes a good one? If it's someone famous, you could mention them. Jill? I'm sorry, who?
Sense of humor.
So humor, so emotion. Jill?
Tim Murphy's presentation.
Tim Murphy? Everyone knows Tim Murphy? I don't know Tim Murphy, but who's Tim Murphy? Is that a comedian?
He's a joke.
Oh, okay.
Well known.
Tim Murphy's, okay, Tim Murphy. But why was...
Because he gets the audience to interact.
Okay, so getting the audience to interact, we could put on that side, interaction, just like Japanese high school, right? Lots of interaction. In the back.
Joe, what did you say? He juggles.
He juggles too.
He juggles.
I can juggle.
Can't juggle like you juggle?
No, I can juggle 3 things. I'll juggle this table, this bottle of water, and this projector. Later. In my hotel room. Anything else?
Really clear main point.
So clear, clarity, right. Okay, so we know what's good, we know what's bad, right? We're looking for clarity, meaning, great content, but what we usually get is a feeling of we wasted time. In Japan, it's often too much detail, lack of a core message. What was all that about, right? So the poster child for really ineffective presentations for a long time was this gentleman, and I love this guy. What he does with his foundation and the support that he gives even to education. But for a long time, this was the Microsoft style. It says click to add title. Who are we to disagree with that, right? And then it says click to add text. Okay, Microsoft says to do that. So there is evidence, however, that times are changing. So this is the old Bill Gates, or we call it the old Bill Gates. This is the new improved Bill Gates. This is how he's been doing it now. So he's following the more presentation Zen style. Lots of data still. but he's telling the story. The data is in the context of the story and the point that he's trying to make. And then his TED Talk, if you go to TED.com, his latest talk from last year is excellent. I mean, especially excellent for Bill Gates. You know, lots of data actually, but presented in a very simple way and in a meaningful way that supports his point and gives some support to his vision, right? Very, very visual. But more important than that, he himself was very passionate. Not using notes on a screen, not using notes on paper, but so not coming from here, not memorized, but coming from here. It's his story and he knows what to say. So why would you need notes? And he doesn't need notes because he prepared well, he knows his story. I mean, you don't need notes when you go on a date, right? Can you imagine? What are your hobbies? Hobbies. I got 3 hobbies. First, please look at the screen. Volleyball. You know what to say. You're not worried about what to say. You don't prepare for a date, do you? Right? Because you know this. It's inside you. And so if this is your work is inside you. You shouldn't have to memorize it. You shouldn't really need notes too much. So if Bill Gates can improve, anyone can improve, including our students. There's no excuses. So how many of you like bento, obento or ekiben, which is on the train? So those of you who are not from Japan, you're familiar with the bento? This is actually not a good picture of a bento. I have some better ones. So I live in Nara in the country, but I go to Tokyo about every week, and I've been doing this for years. This is my life. And I love going to Tokyo because on the Shinkansen, we get to eat ekiben. Eki is station and bento, ben for bento. This is where you can buy the bento at Kyoto Station. And this is what a bento looks like on the outside. This is a kabuki bento. And this is a different kind of bento. That's open, closed, open, closed. You get the idea. So I was so inspired by the bento that actually, that's the American bento, by the way. The American one is very different. It's a bit messy, but it fills you up. It's freedom. Okay, so isn't that beautiful? Look at that. Look at that. Keep that picture in mind. I turned this into that's actually my first video with sticky notes, and you take it out, it becomes a sketchbook. And so all this is in the bento box. And the iPad fits perfectly in here. So you can also take that out, put your iPad into your iPad carrying case. That was just an accident. So here's an activity I'd like you to do. Think about the bento. Think about this picture. How is good presentation or a good presentation like a good bento? You know, kind of stretch your thinking. What do they share in common? You know, one thing you could say, well, simplicity. Okay, but there are many, many, many things. You could stretch this out. So I'll give you 90 seconds. Write down as many things. Discuss as many similarities between a good presentation and a bento. All right, begin.